Joining me today is Andrew Masterson, VP Head of Europe at IP House. Andrew, thank you very much for talking to me today.
You're very welcome.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, enjoying the day, thank you.
Good, excellent. We can jump straight into the interview, if that's okay, by asking what you believe the biggest challenge is currently facing the world of IP at the moment.
Wow, it's a large kind of landscape, I think, to try and address. I'll give it a go without rambling on too many different tangents. I think overall, consistency is probably the word I'd use to first address it. Consistency in approach to IP enforcement, into IP protection, both internally and externally. So within companies, and we've heard about it today at the conference, kind of how that sits within a business and how it's viewed, and that can have a big impact on how it's supported, how it's funded, how it's viewed within a company. Someone referred to it as the pulse of a business. And I thought that was a really good way of describing it, because the pulse has to reach everywhere. And if it doesn't reach there, then that section fails effectively.
Big problem.
And particularly when you're protecting IP across that broad bandwidth of whatever it might be within a business. And I use that very kind of generic terminology rather than getting into the specifics of clothing brand or electronics brand or pharmaceutical, because the basic principles apply across the board, particularly when you've got R&D that are looking at new products and trying to innovate and be on the cutting edge of their particular disciplines. They need that protection so that when they've developed it, the designs can't be taken before they can release or make the product go to market. And depending on which industry you're in, which is a topic we'll be covering tomorrow, that might be a few months, it might even be a few weeks in some cases, or it could be 3 to 5 years. So you need a consistency in the plan to make sure that that's recognised and the right people, the right skills are used at the right time. Because if you don't have that, then you've got points of failure where a fantastic to market product might fail because of your internal processes rather than anything to do with the item or the product or the end result itself. And then when we look externally, particularly from our point of view, consistency in the approach, because when you're working across different jurisdictions, when you're working across different markets, online markets, offline markets, and that transition between the two, if you don't have that consistency, you could be doing fantastic work on your online monitoring, on your identification of where people are selling on online marketplaces or websites, but the particularly physical products, rather than digital piracy, it's got to be somewhere. Someone has to have a product in hand. It has to be delivered to someone. It has to be bought and taken to someone. And if you're not then coming offline, then those products are still being delivered. They're just working out ways to circumnavigate the prevention. So marketplaces, website takedowns, all those things could be fantastic, but bad actors, criminal entities, and that's something I'll come on to in a minute, will work our way around that and continue to operate as they have done, utilising what I would consider older technologies or older tricks, if you like, to circumnavigate new protections. So having that move and consistent approach from online to offline and actually having an impact is key as well, because otherwise products can still get into hand, they'll still be bought, they still have that negative impact on the company. And if we look at piracy and kind of non-tangible items, copyright and design online, there's still someone who has to physically upload it or run the sites. I know piracy sites, from my previous experience, would cost kind of £10,000 to £20,000 a month to operate. Someone has to make funds. They have to be able to operate. They have to have servers. They have to have access. So again, it's still physical. So as much as we look a lot online, there's still physical elements to that, and actually that can be some of the most impactful consistently with that approach. And my final bit then is criminal or bad actors, depending on kind of your viewpoint on this, adapting their processes, and they adapt a lot quicker than brands can prevent. They adapt a lot quicker to law enforcement or government can make regulations because of the nature of what they do. They look for gaps in something, and they don't have to fill out forms. They don't have to get permission from boards. They don't have to get buy-in from other parts of their company. They just go, how can we adapt really quickly? And again, that consistent approach to having adaptability to that change, rather than being stuck in a way, this is our process, this is how we operate, and we go from one to the other. You need to have a good understanding of process and consistency, but with an awareness that you have to be adaptable and change to the circumstances and have that flexibility. Because if you don't, the criminal or the bad actors do, and they will outrun you every time. So that would be my kind of overview on it without going down too many rabbit holes on different actions.
Perfect, thank you. And I mean, you're one of our speakers later on in the conference, so it kind of leads me nicely into this next question, which is, what topics of conversations do you think are key to having to tackle the challenges, and maybe are they a bit uncomfortable for the industry?
I think the conversations that'd be really good to have, and I'll kind of caveat this with, there's always really positive conversations about collaboration, about learning, about discussing the positives across the industry and across the sectors. Again, there's so many different parts that make up intellectual property that it's unfair to just kind of list them off almost into boxes. The hard conversation is what didn't work, what didn't go well. And I know for myself and for IP House, part of that process for us is asking those kind of feedback questions. You know, what went well, what's going really well, what do you really like about whatever it is? That's a great, everyone loves to hear positives around it. But my real push is, well, okay, what don't you like? What isn't working well for you? And again, we've just covered every brand is different, every process is slightly different, every company or interaction within this space has a slight nuance, and it's really key to recognise those nuances. And the way that we do that, I do that, is what didn't go so well? What can we learn from? And how can I learn from you? How can you learn from me? And how can we move forward? I find that the challenging conversation is speaking about those. So one-to-one or within a kind of closed meeting room setting, when you're looking at a project or an operation, you can have those conversations, and they're a little bit uncomfortable, but it's a learning point and it's feedback, and you move on. And it's very similar to policing. The way of reviewing operations is everyone that was involved sits in a room, they go through what happened, they ask those questions: what went well, what didn't go well, and what can we improve on? And really taking that into this industry is a fantastic move, but it's openly having those conversations and saying, actually, you know what, this didn't work for us. We tried this and it didn't work, and it didn't work for these reasons, and we recognise that was a problem. The caveat to that, because it sounds quite a negative conversation, it's not. And the reason it isn't is either you learn from it and you don't do that again, you adapt from it, so you go, actually, that didn't work, but this one golden thread was a great recognition, a great learning point, something we can adapt and share. Or actually, this is a much different problem to what we thought it was, and we need to explore the problem in more detail. And that leads on to my kind of second point, which I'll cram into your question, is around actually looking at the problem. Again, we talk about solutions all over the place. The way to fix this is to do that. The way to achieve this is that. But actually turning the lens around a little bit and going, well, let's really look at the problem, because if we take away certain aspects of that issue that on the face of it seem really complex or really a global criminal network on the face of it that's selling counterfeit goods across the globe, on the face of it, that is a huge beast to try and even adapt to. But actually, well, let's take it away. Is it one entity? Honestly, probably not. The kind of the mindset that there's one criminal entity involved in this isn't the case. There's lots of small entities working for a purpose, and we're on one side working for a positive purpose, and they're on the other side working for a negative purpose. But actually, what bits can we disrupt? Can we put a blocker in somewhere, and actually we now halve that problem? So actually our solution was huge, but now it's very prescribed. And that for me, again, is a key learning point to share. But it's quite a hard conversation to say, oh, we've got this big issue. Okay, well, let's actually break that problem down. Because if we take this away and that away, suddenly we've got a workable solution, and then we can expand it rather than trying to kind of take the whole thing on in one go, which is a valiant effort, but it needs multiple things. You almost need options within that solution to be able to draw on when you need them, rather than a one kind of silver bullet, if you like, or kind of referencing it. There's lots of different aspects to that than just that silver bullet.
Yeah. Well, leading on from silver bullets, how do you feel about the impact AI is currently having on the industry?
AI, it's a really interesting term, because AI technology has been around for a long time. There's some amazing key aspects to it. Some of the technologies that we have in identifying images and speeding through that and allowing person hours to be kind of stripped down from what might have taken someone 3 or 4 hours to do a job can be done in moments. Fantastic. And this is unfair on the technology, but if we kind of step back a little bit, it's a tool that helps us. And if we looked at it as a physical thing, if I was looking to dig a hole, if I didn't have a shovel and I was using my hands, it would take a long time. If I had a shovel, it takes a lot less time. If I had a digger or machinery to do it, it takes even less time. But it's still a tool, and you still need someone that's trained to do it. You still need someone that's able to effectively use it, that knows how it operates, that knows its pitfalls. Again, kind of when the AI conversation exploded a few years ago, when I was still in law enforcement, one of the conversations that came was, oh, well, this is great because it will free up so much time for officers in their investigations. And again, it's recognising those nuances. Yes, it can do 99% of the work, but particularly in criminal cases, it has to be 100% correct. So actually, it's that moulding of AI and skilled individuals, and that again is key. You can't just rely on AI technology to do everything for you. If you rely on it completely, and there's no expert eye looking over it and making sure it's being pointed in the right direction, being used for the right things, given the right prompts, and you just rely on that, there's no checks and balances. And actually, if it's giving you the wrong information, then that's more detrimental than just not doing it in the first place. So it can be a great utilised tool, but it's used in the terminology of, well, we'll just use AI to do it. Okay, well, let's use AI to check a document. Great, but I need 100% redaction rate. So we need to take out some information from a document, someone's name, whatever it might be. If it's 99% accurate, that 1%, that one name where it's left in, suddenly could mean a case doesn't go forward. So if we're looking from our point of view, if it's a criminal referral, that case might fail, which means all that investigation time beforehand, all the online monitoring that we do, all the test purchases, the covert work, whatever it might be, that's all lost because of that 1% error. But that's not a negative, it's just recognising that. And for me, with AI, particularly across this industry, and I'm sure the same is for other AI industries or other industries that use AI, it's having the experts that work with it in a dual solution, a dual option, making sure trained people are using it for the right thing, not just, oh, that'll fix it. And for me, that is the key. That is amazing because it's shortening down our data and that analytical time, which means that our experts spend more time on concise information to make sure it's correct, and they refeed it back in and make sure it's double checked. It's out there doing a lot of work 24/7, which you can't have all the time on everything. So again, although we have a 24/7 operation, everyone can't be everywhere. So the tools are out there doing that hard work, the grunt work to bring it in. The experts then review it. It then gets adapted, and it will change, and it's changed massively. The release of AI, I suppose maybe 4 or 5 years ago when it was kind of first out, and a lot of it was augmented reality AI and things like that, is now an app on your phone which can give you amazing texts and can write documents and things like that. The caveat, which I saw an article around universities and a tool they use to strip out the use of AI, and actually what I found interesting is they were using an AI tool to identify AI written essays, and it could actually strip it back to how the essay was written. So when it's submitted, if it just kind of appeared on the page, then that red flagged it because no one just suddenly writes every 3,000 words in 1 second. And you correct it as a person writing a document. You go back, you change it, you delete words, you put them back in, you rephrase it. There's amendments to the document, and it could show where these amendments were. Well, that's fantastic. A person couldn't have done that without taking hours to review it. This AI tool could identify it. But what I found interesting is that someone has developed an AI-enabled tool to identify AI-enabled work. So almost getting
no one,
checkers to we're creating checkers to check for the work. So it's that, again, expanding the problem. So very much a kind of an extended answer, but it's a great tool, but it is a tool, and it's got to be used by people that know what they're putting in, because if you put in bad data, you'll just get bad data out. So that is key.
Absolutely. Do you see any other trends appearing in 2026 apart from the AI?
a lot of the kind of trends that I think are out there, I think I referenced earlier, are kind of older, particularly from my point of view for the investigation, for the bad actors investigation point of view. They're trends that have been around for a long time, but they're just in a digital space. So if we use hidden links, it is a kind of a good example where platforms are doing fantastic work to take off either illegal sales options or counterfeit goods or whatever it might be, banned products that shouldn't be sold to a certain age range, misbranded, all things like that. They do fantastic work to clean their marketplaces, wherever that might be. What criminals then adapted to was hidden links, where they would post a picture of something quite innocuous, a t-shirt, a green bag, whatever it might be, and then on a separate platform or in a WhatsApp group or other space, they'd advertise, if you buy this product, which is listed as a green t-shirt, and you buy it in large, this is the product you'll receive. So it's taking it away from the platform.
Wow.
But that itself is an old technique, if you like, where people put adverts in newspapers for a product, and if you were in the know, you knew that that advert meant you're buying a different product. Wow. And generally it was illegal, drugs or whatever it might be. So those terminologies then, well, I know if they're selling this particular car, that actually means that they're selling this particular drug. Right. That technique is from when newspaper ads were kind of 20, 30 years ago, if not longer. It's just a change in that technology or that technique with technology. So they're adapting across. In the same way that Google Sheets and things like that. So you can go onto websites. One of the last big operations I worked on, PandaBuy, before I left Pipku, was a site that on the face of it didn't sell anything. It was just a landing page. You couldn't access it. There wasn't a shop. There wasn't an option to go and search for goods. But what you had is people passing around these Google Sheets with, if you want these trainers, click on this link, it will take you to this website and it will take you past the landing page and then you can go and buy these products. Again, that's just a change on technique of someone saying, if you go and knock on this door, the person over there will have what you're looking for. So technology adapts, but the ideas they're based in something historic. And it's just the use of technology to adapt to those successes from our side, if you like, where we've prevented it from happening. So being aware of those adaptations, I couldn't put my finger kind of, this is definitely an issue, but AI, as we just talked about, the kind of creating videos and things like that, amazing quality compared to how they were 5 or 6 years ago, that's a real issue because creating content, there's the Getty Images finding yesterday released, some clarity in it, but a lot of confusion and a lot of grey areas, which is where, I'm not saying kind of, the grey is where the criminals can operate best. Because and when I say criminals, I use that as a very wide kind of coverall, because there might be some entities that are doing something that is illegal or might be illegal if you can prove enough points within that fence, but they're on the cusp of it. And actually, are they a legal entity that's very much on the bounds of what should be wrong, or are they crossed over into that's actually a crime, whether it be civil or criminal? Those grey areas are where they thrive because they'll operate there until they're challenged, until they're taken to court, and there's clarity on that. And unfortunately, the last finding, which gives us case law around it, answers some questions, but not enough to make it a blanket. But that's because the judiciary recognise it being such a big problem to just give a clear answer. So again, I haven't given a short response to that, but I think for me, it's the adaptation of new technologies, but with older techniques. And it goes back to my point around stepping back a bit. Okay, this is a new technology, it's a new problem, but let's not get caught by that. Let's step back and see, actually, is there an older solution to this problem, or do we need to find something? And if we need to find something, let's get the right people, let's get the right minds that really talk about the problem to get those solutions.
Absolutely. So, I mean, bringing us back to the present day, not so much in the future or in the past, but what is your favourite thing about the Winter IP conference?
For me, it's the bringing together of such a variety of parts of the industry. There's patent attorneys, there's design registration, there's brand and IP enforcement as a whole. There's different representations from within different businesses, kind of if you like, the the people that are at the coalface doing the work, putting in the applications, working within the teams to try and raise awareness of what they're doing within those teams. And then you've also got senior managers and decision makers and leadership within that, all in one space. And for me, it's those conversations that you can have, which I've mentioned, where you can talk quite freely about what's going on in a really thought-provoking way. And the breakout sessions and being able to hear about different parts of that industry are fantastic, because you aren't just sitting in a room where it's being kind of, your panel sessions are great because they give case studies and examples, but actually having those shorter inputs where you can come out of the room, talk to the person that was maybe in there, that was on the stage or presenting, or someone else within there that's from a different part of the industry. So actually, that's a really interesting topic, but how does that impact you? Because from a brand point of view, it might be this, but from a patent attorney lawyer, how would you view that? And just one of the takeaways already from the day is from the first session, where they said, realizing when it hasn't got to be perfect, it needs to be good enough. And that's not a negative. And on the face of it, it seems like, you know, everyone should be doing their work to the best of their abilities and achieving 100% all the time.
Yeah.
And then, well, they are, but is that 100% achieving what the business wants to achieve? And if it's not, then actually it's not 100%. Is good enough what they need? Yeah. And it's not a cover-all, but it's actually asking the questions and going back to it and saying, what do we really need here to make this solution work? Is it disruption? Is it a fall? We need to look at civil action. Is it whatever it might be? So if we only need one of those things, I don't need someone to spend, they reference 2 years for a particular piece of application to go through. Do we need to invest in 2 years? And having those conversations, and I could see people in the audience kind of going, that's a really good point. Do I need to get my legal team internally or externally to spend 2 years on an application when something else will cover it in the short term, but that covers what I need right now as a business? But I've considered the impact of that, the opportunity lost by doing that, but that's okay because I need this now. I don't need it in 2 years, because by 2 years' time, as I mentioned, the product could have failed for a number of reasons. So we need to protect it now, and the way to do that is by doing whatever it might be. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for speaking to me today.
Very welcome.
I'm looking forward to listening to you later on in the conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.